A common weather phenomenon in the Atlantic Ocean is the European windstorm, typically occurring in the early parts of the year. These cyclonic systems are very similar to hurricanes that hit the Americas and have similar effects, such as high winds and a damaging storm surge. While not the first storm of its type to occur in the region, the windstorm that caused the North Sea flood of 1953 was exceptional for its strength and severity, caused by a perfect combination of weather variables at the time. The storm hit the area on January 31st, 1953, right at the time the moon was exceptionally close to the Earth, creating a significant spring tide and drastically increasing the potential of the storm surge. In fact, the storm surge produced by the cyclone was 5.6 meters above sea level, almost 20 feet. Anti-flooding measures were in place in both England and the Netherlands, especially seawalls and dikes respectively, but neither of these systems were adequate to handle the cyclone's storm surge. On the night of January 31st and into the morning of February 1st, the storm moved in a southeasterly direction and began to breach seawalls along the coast of England. The surge only became worse as the storm moved south into shallower waters, increasing its overall effects. Next, the west coast of the Netherlands began to be affected, the Zeeland dikes that kept water out of the Dutch lowlands being breached in 67 different places, allowing the area to become inundated with water. 20% of the Netherlands is below sea level, which increased the effects of the storm surge on the coast. The flooding in both countries continued into February 1st until the storm began to move inland and break up. Once the storm passed, the damage became much more evident. In England, over 1,600 kilometers of coastline was damaged, and the seawalls had been breached, allowing water to inundate over 1,000 square kilometers. The flooding was even present at the east end of London, where the Thames River had been subject to the storm surge. In total, over 24,000 properties were destroyed by the storm surge, and 307 people were killed. The damage was much worse in the Netherlands. With the dikes breached, seawater flooded 1,365 square kilometers of land, which included farmland and residential communities alike. An estimated 30,000 animals drowned, and more than 47,000 buildings were damaged or destroyed, taking the lives of over 1,800 people. Infrastructure was crippled throughout the region, as were the existing flood prevention measures, leaving the country vulnerable to further flooding. The governments of both affected countries were aware that similar infrequent events could occur in the future. European windstorms were known to be common, and so it was decided that major engineering works had to be undertaken to prevent future catastrophes. In England, the seawall system on the coast was rebuilt and strengthened, and a large retractable storm surge barrier was constructed near the mouth of the Thames River. The Netherlands took even further steps to prevent flooding. In addition to repairing the existing system, an entire network of dams, locks, dikes, levees, and storm surge barriers were constructed in a project known as the Delta Works. The majority of the project was completed in the early 1980s. The Delta Works project has made the flood-prone areas of the country safe to live in, and since the events of 1953, communities have returned in full to these areas.